Hello students, today we will continue our lecture on linear regression where we were discussing regression with one independent variable. We have from a given sample of data, we have built a regression model which is basically this model where we say we build the regression model yi hat is equal to beta 0 hat plus beta 1 hat xi plus ui hat. Now these hats indicate that this is the before you built the model, you specified the model, the population regression model as yi equals to beta 0 plus beta 1 xi plus ui. Once you have a sample of data, you actually in that regression model, beta 0 and beta 1 were the unknowns. But once you have a sample and you build the model, you arrive at certain values of beta 0 or you estimate values of beta 0 hat and beta 1 hat from your given sample, and you have a given regression line which looks like this. Now, how do you know whether this regression line is a good measure of fit, or what are the measures of fit to the actual population regression? So basically we will introduce two different ideas, the regression R square and the standard error of the regression, which is SER. So regression R square has to do with the idea that how much of the variance in y, the fraction of the variance of y that is explained by x. You are saying that y is a function of x, but even after including x, there is some error left over, which is ui hat. Now basically what we are trying to say is that in the absence of any information about x, you might have made a prediction for y which might be just the average of y. But you now have values of x and you predict some value of yi hat based on this linear function. Now how much of the variance in x have you actually managed to explain by this linear function, and how much of it remains unexplained? The second thing we will talk about is the standard error of the regression, which measures the magnitude of the typical regression residual, and this one has units of y. The regression R square is unitless and it ranges between 0 and 1. 0 stands for absolutely no fit and 1 stands for perfect fit. So first we will talk about regression R square, which is the fraction of the sample variance of yi explained by the regression. So yi equals to yi hat plus ui hat. Yi hat is the explained variation, that is the OLS prediction plus the OLS residual. So whatever part of the variance was explained by your model, that is known as the explained sum of squares, and whatever part is not left over is called the residual sum of square. And these two things together is called the total sum of squares. So R square is defined as the explained sum of squares by the total sum of squares, which is given by this formula. In order to derive this formula, let me show you in a graphical manner what we are talking of. So we have the x variable and we have the y or the dependent variable. Now we have different data points which may be given by these. These are the sample data points that you have collected, and each data point will have an x coordinate and a y coordinate associated with this. Now you build a regression line for these data points, and that regression line may pass through the cloud of points like this. So this may be a regression line that gives you basically relationship between y and x. So basically, in the absence, if you had not built this regression line, or if you did not have any idea of or any information about the independent variable, the best predictor of y in that particular case, the best predictor of y would have just been the average value of y. In the absence of any information about the independent variables, the average value of y, which is the same for no matter what the values of x's are, this would have been the best predictor. Now, if you build a regression model, then the error that you have, associated with, say, this particular point, this is the x coordinate. So say this point is A, and you have an x coordinate xa and a y coordinate ya associated with this. So this is xa and this is ya associated with this. When you build this regression line, this is the error So when you build the regression line, this is the predicted ya hat that you this is the predicted ya hat. This is your prediction for this given value of xa. This is your prediction given the regression line. So this is the error associated with this point A. Now, if you had not built the regression line, then this would be the best prediction for y. So then this is the total sum of squares, or this is the total error that could be possible. But because you built this regression line, you were able to explain this much part of this regression predicted line is better than the y bar, because it reduced your total error by this amount. Okay, so this is the explained error, and this is the total error. This is the total error or total variance. So how much have you reduced your error in the prediction from having no information about x? How much did your information about x help you to reduce the prediction error? That is basically the this quantity squared. You are squaring it because you could also have negative errors. So how much this quantity squared divided by this quantity square is basically that is what is your r square. So yi hat minus y hat bar, which is the same as y bar. So yi hat minus y bar is the distance from the regression line to the mean prediction, and this is the total distance, which is yi minus y bar. So in the numerator you have yi hat minus y bar whole square, in the denominator you have yi minus y bar whole square, and if your this is known as the regression r square, or it is also sometimes known as the coefficient of determination when there is only one variable, one explanatory variable. Okay, this is also known as the coefficient of determination. Now, if you have such kind of data that actually your regression line, there isn't a visible trend in your regression at all, and suppose you have data which is like this, or let us put it like this, you have So there is no particular trend that you can see in your relationship between. So this is your x, this is your y, and there is no particular relationship that you can see. So in this particular case, your regression line may look like this. Your regression line, if you draw a regression line through this cloud of points, your regression line may look like this. Meanwhile, if you draw just the average of y, which is y bar, your y bar may also look like this. So in this particular case, the regression line is not doing any better job of explaining the variance in y than your y bar. So in this case, the r square is equal to 0. Meanwhile, if you have a situation where such that your cloud of points lies like this, and your regression line is like this. I'm sorry, I'm not able to draw it very carefully, but your regression line lies like this and your cloud of points line lies like this. Then basically this is so much better than having the regression line, the average y bar would be like this. And your regression line, the error between your data points and your regression line, almost there is no error between your data points and your regression line, and your regression line explains almost all the error. In this particular case, the r square is equal to 1. So if you have a very good relationship or a very good causal relationship between y and x, then your r square will be equal to 1. If the causal relationship between y and x is not very good, then r square will be equal to 0. Otherwise, r square will be somewhere in between 1 and 0. Okay. So this is r square. R square lies between 0 and 1, and r square is, in the case of a single x, r square is also the square of the correlation coefficient between x and y. Next, we will talk about the standard error of the regression. Now, standard error of the regression measures the spread of the distribution of u. So basically what it means is, suppose you look at u itself as a random variable. So once you have built your regression line, once you have, let us use a different color. Yi equals to beta 0 hat plus beta 1 hat xi plus ui hat, yi hat. Now this ui hat will be different for different points, right? The errors will vary. Now, so there will be an average error and there will be a variance of that error. In certain cases, the variance will be, the error will be very large. In certain cases, the error will not be so large. So if you look at our previous example, for instance, in this particular case, the error is quite large, but in this, if you were to look at this particular data point, the error is small. So the error itself has a different variance, right? Some of the points are close to the regression line and some of the points are far from the regression line, and hence the magnitude of the errors itself changes. So this standard error of the regression basically captures the variance of the or the standard deviation of the error itself. Yeah. So is the sample standard deviation of the OLS residuals. SCR is basically given as ui hat minus u bar whole square divided by 1 by summed over I equals to 1 to n divided by 1 by n minus 2 root of that. Okay, so this is just the same way that you do standard deviation for a particular given given variable is xi minus x bar whole square summed over I equals to 1 to n. This is the variance, and you divide it by the here you are dividing it by n minus 2, and we will say why we are using n minus 2, but this multiplied by 1 by n or 1 by n minus 1, this gives you the standard this gives you root of this gives you the standard deviation. In this particular case, this is the standard, this is known as the standard error of the regression. So so this is what this is basically. When you work this out, it comes to the same as 1 by n minus 2 summation I equals to 1 to n ui whole square, because ui hat minus u bar, this u bar is basically overall you make 0 error. Okay, so u hat bar or 1 by n ui hat sum y equals to 1 to n, because overall you try to build the regression line such that the summation of the errors becomes 0, or the summation of the errors is also 0 and the average errors is also 0. This is actually how you build the regression line. Yeah. So SCR is equal to 1 by n minus 2 summation of ui hat whole square summed over I equals to 1 to n. SCR, you will see that it is in the terms of it is in the units of u, which are the units of y. Okay, so measures the average size of the OLS residual, the average mistake made by the OLS regression line. So basically, if you have data which is very far, very scattered, then the standard error of regression will be high, and if you have data which is closely bunched together, then your standard error of regression will be smaller. The root mean square error, RMSE, is closely related to SCR. So RMSE is basically the same thing as SCR, except instead of being divided by 1 by n minus 2, you divide it by 1 by n, then it is known as the root mean square error. So why do you divide by n minus 2 instead of n minus 1? So here we will introduce the idea of degrees of freedom correction. So degrees of freedom basically refers to that whenever you calculate a particular statistic from a given sample, how many observations are free to vary when you calculate that statistic. So for instance, when you calculate the average value from a sample of data, then you have n minus 1. If you have n number of data, you have n minus 1 degrees of freedom, because you are calculating the average from that particular given sample of data. If you have the average, then you can only n minus 1 observation points will be free to vary. Similarly, if you calculate the standard deviation, you will need the mean, and then you will also calculate the standard deviation. So you take away 2 degrees of freedom, and this is why when you are doing this, you divide it by n minus 1. So in the case of S1 Sy square, you divide by n minus 1 because you needed to calculate, you needed to calculate basically the mean in order to calculate your variance in the case of an individual variable. But in this case, you are estimating two different parameters, that is beta 0 and beta 1, and only then you are able to estimate ui hat. So 2 degrees of freedom are subtracted because you have estimated two parameters, and that is why you have lost 2 degrees of freedom, and your standard error of regression, that's why you divide it by n minus 2. Now the point is that when n is very large, say n is 100 or so, whether you divide it by n or n minus 1 or n minus 2, it doesn't really matter, because you are either dividing it by 100, or you are dividing it by 99, or you are dividing it by 98, and it doesn't really matter in the bigger scheme of things. But for small samples, it might matter. This n minus 2 instead of n minus 1 may matter. So let's look at our example and see how R square and SER work out over there. So in our particular case, we find after fitting the data, these are the scatter plots we have. If you remember, we estimated this regression line, which was 698.9, test score hat is 698.9 minus 2.28 into STR. The R square in this case is very low. As you can see, the R square is only 0.05. So this particular regression is not really able to answer, the student teacher ratio is not really able to answer the variance in the test score very much. Okay, so it is an explanatory variable, but it is not such a good explanatory variable, and the standard error of the regression in this particular case is 18.6. So STR explains only a small fraction of the variation in test scores. Does this make sense? So could there be other variables that could actually explain more of your variation in the test score? So it could be, right? So if you had schools where children of richer kids went, perhaps they might do better on certain tests, or it might be that if the qualifications of the teachers was better, they might be able to teach better. So these variables, we have not taken them into account, and hence they might affect the test scores to a greater extent. Now we come to the least squares assumptions. So what are the properties of the sampling distribution of the OLS estimator? Now this is very important. So we come to the idea of the sampling distribution of the OLS estimator. Remember that we have calculated, we don't know the true beta 0 and the true beta 1, which are the population parameters. These are the population parameters. We don't know these parameters. We want to know these parameters, but we don't have access to all the data in the population. So we estimate it using beta 0 hat and beta 1 hat, which are the sample estimates, right? Sample estimates from a given sample. Now, if you remember our discussion from the previous review of probability and statistics lectures, this is true for only one particular sample. We get some value of beta 0 hat and some value of beta 1 hat. If we had taken a different sample, we might have got a different value of beta 0 hat and beta 1 hat. If we had taken yet another sample, we might have got a still different value of beta 0 hat and beta 1 hat. So beta 0 hat and beta 1 hat themselves are random variables. Beta 0 hat and beta 1 hat themselves are random variables, and they have their own sampling distribution. So there is an error associated with your estimate, and these two values have their own sampling distribution. So this is a very, very important thing to understand. When we through this course, we will take this idea that beta 0 hat and beta 1 hat, they are not the truth. They are just the estimates from a given sample. But had you taken a different sample, you might have got a completely different estimate, and then you might infer a completely different relationship between the x and y. So, there is a sampling distribution. So we need to make some assumptions about how y and x are related to each other in order to understand anything about the OLS estimator. What is the sampling distribution of the OLS estimator? How is it? When will it be unbiased, and what will be its variance, and so on. So there are three particular assumptions that are known as the least square assumptions. So these are extremely important. The first assumption for yi equals to beta 0 plus beta 1 xi plus ui, the first assumption says that the conditional distribution of u given x has mean 0. That is, expected value of u given x is equal to 0. That means, what does this mean? That overall, whatever is the regression line that you will build, the averaged over all the sample data points, the error will be 0. What that basically means is that you will pass a regression line, or you will try to find that regression line which sort of goes through the middle of your cloud of points. When it goes through the middle of your cloud of points, the positive errors and the negative errors will cancel each other out, and overall your average error will be 0. This is basically what the first assumption is talking about, and this is a reasonable assumption. That is the kind of regression line that we want to build, so that overall we will make an average error of 0 in predicting our dependent variable given our independent variable. Next thing that we assume is that xi and yi, each of these values are IID, or independently and identically distributed. So what this basically means, that observation 1 and observation 2, the first observation and the second observation, these are independent of each other. Which one you choose is independent of each other, and also they come from the same population, and hence they are identically distributed. So if you choose your sample by simple random sampling, then this is true. This is exactly the same as saying that when we were looking at the height example for one variable. So when you are looking at two variables also, if the observation points are chosen by simple random sampling, then they will be IID. And the third assumption that we look at is large outliers in x and y are rare. And so basically what we are saying is that we do not expect to see values of x and y which are very far from the typical values of x and y. And why this is important, we will describe in a little bit. So first assumption is that the expected value of u given x is equal to 0. Now, I have mentioned before that there is an asymmetry in linear regression where we talk about the expected value of y given x. So, x is given, and we are looking at how y varies for given values of x. In this particular case, the student-teacher ratio is given, and we say that given that suppose the student-teacher ratio is 15, all schools that have student-teacher ratio of 15 may have different values of test scores that the students achieve in those particular schools. So they are distributed along this line. So the actual variation is along this line. All the schools have the same independent variable, but the dependent variable may be different. So if you pass a regression line through this, each of these different observations will yield a different error. However, the mean error across all the expected value of the error across all these observations is expected to be 0. That is because we are constructing a regression line which goes through the middle of the cloud of points. So this is our first conditional mean assumption about the regression line, that the conditional mean of the errors is 0. So in the case of the test score, beta 0 plus beta 1 STR plus UI, what are some UI is other factors, is expected error of u given x equals to 0 plausible for these other factors. We will discuss these technicalities a little more in time. But right now we are assuming that the expected value of the error is 0. Benchmark for thinking about this assumption is considering an ideal randomized controlled experiment. X is randomly assigned to people, students randomly assigned to different size classes, patients randomly assigned to medical treatments. Randomization is done by the computers without any information about the individual. Because X is assigned randomly, all other individual characteristics, the things that make up U, are distributed independently of X. So U and X are independent. So if you could actually randomly assign students to different class sizes, you know, in reality you cannot do that. Students will choose to attend certain schools, and those schools will have certain class sizes, and students may prefer to go to schools which have smaller class sizes. However, assuming that you could do this, then in an you would have an ideal randomized control experiment. All other aspects of the students that go to different class sizes will be you know, the same, because they are randomly chosen, and in this case the expected value of error will be 0. In actual experiments or your observational data, we will need to think hard about whether this assumption holds. So a lot of this course we will talk about trying to see whether the assumption of conditional means of the regression, whether they are equal to 0, whether this assumption holds. The least square assumption number 2, as I said, is that xi and yi, I are IID. So if the entity is sampled by simple random sampling, each of them are chosen independently of each other. The selection of any particular school district is random, so they are independently distributed. Also, because they are chosen from the same population, they are identically distributed. Okay, so when we look at time series data, this assumption does not always hold, but in cross-sectional data, if you use simple random sampling, then this assumption will hold. And finally, the last assumption that we talk about is the least square assumption number 3, that is large outliers are rare, or the more technical statement is that the kurtosis, or the expected value of x to the power of 4 is less than infinity, or expected value of y to the power of 4 is also less than infinity. That is, we do not have a fat-tailed distribution. Okay, your kurtosis is, we do not expect very large outliers. So what is a large outlier? A large outlier is an extreme value of x or y. So if x and y are bounded, then they have finite fourth moments. Test scores are obviously, you cannot have very large outliers in test scores, because test scores only go between, say, 0 and, suppose it is between 0 and 800. You cannot have a test score of 1 million, because it just is bounded by what you can actually get. And student teacher ratio is also bounded. Okay, so these are large outlier can strongly influence the results. So you have to look at your data and see if there is a large outlier, whether you want to keep it in your sample in order to estimate the regression equation. Let us see how the large outlier can affect your regression equation. Suppose you have all the data which is like this, the black points, and you have one particular data point which is a large outlier, and in this particular case this is the large outlier. If you did not have the large outlier, you would be estimating this regression line. But given that you have the outlier, and given that it is trying to minimize the overall error, the sum of squares of all errors, and this error contributes to creating a regression line which is like this line. Okay, so this, it creates, in the presence of the outlier, this is the regression line which is estimated, but regression line in the presence of outlier. So this is, it is trying to do that because it is trying to minimize the sum of square of errors. But what really happens is that this regression line is not really a good predictor for most of the data points. It is a bad predictor because it is trying to accommodate this outlier. So this is why in practice outliers are often data glitches, coding or recording problems. They are observations that really shouldn't be in your data set, and you should plot your data before including such data points. Okay, we will talk about the sampling distribution in the next lecture.